at what happened over this last week, we dropped down to 0.2 months worth of inventory, and we're holding even there. Keep in mind, a balanced supply of inventory typically exists around about a 6-month supply of inventory. When that number drops below 2, we're in an extreme seller's market. When it drops below 1, we truly have more buyers in the market than homes to show people. And so currently, at this current rate of sales, that means that in 6 days, we're going to sell out of the existing inventory here in Metro Denver. So this has been the deepest seller's market that I've ever measured. We hit 0.2 a couple times last year during some really extreme hot weekends, but it looks like we're going to drop down to 0.2 and we're going to stay there probably up until about June, just with the way that supply is shaking itself out. Coming soons again jumped up a little bit this last week. They went up by 8.4% from where we were just 1 week prior, and that's up 4.5% from where we were 1 year ago. So that's great information that buyers and sellers are coming to market sooner rather than later this year. That's the whole key to working in 2022, is if you're a seller, is you want to list early in the year so that you're able to harness this large pool of potential buyers as they watch interest rates going up. They're acting as a catalyst in the marketplace right now, pushing buyers off the fence, wanting to get something under contract.
100%
and so it's buyers are going to fatigue earlier, because if you think about the showing cycle right now, a new listing hits the market on, say, Wednesday. You want to be the first one to get in to see that property. So you're calling your buyer and saying, hey, new property just hit the market. Can you leave the office at lunchtime and come look at this property? So it's a very disruptive showing cycle right now, trying to be the first one to get in to look at that property if you're truly interested in it. Well, you can only maintain this disruptive showing process for so long, missing soccer practices, maybe not going to soccer games on the weekends, trying to get out to see these houses before they go under contract over the first weekend. And so what happens is your buyer pool fatigues, because they say by the time that we get to May or June, they say, you know what, I want my life back. And so then they fatigue at that point. So you really have to be early in the market in 2022 before that buyer fatigue starts to set in. Looking at new listings, they actually came down week over week. They were down by 0.8%, which isn't bad. Pending transactions went up by another 5.1%. So again, the weekend directly following the Super Bowl, we end up seeing an uptick in the number of units that go under contract. That's down 6.6% from where we were the same week 1 year ago. But again, that's due to the inventory shortage. If we had 20% more listings, we'd have 20% more units that were under contract. So that's what we're looking at right now. I keep getting a lot of questions about back on markets. We ended up having about 135 units that came back on market. And when we boil that down, any off-market status that goes into an active status counts as back on market. And so I'm only looking for those transactions that fell apart, so those pending ones. And so it's about 40% of those units were in a pending status before. So of those 1,200 units that went under contract, we'll call it 40%, and we'll call it like roughly 50. That means that our fallout rate is probably 5 to 7% right now, when historically our fallout rate for contracts is usually around 15 to 16%. So buyers are more likely to stick it through. They're more serious rather than getting back out there into the buyer pool and getting into the rat race of going and looking at homes. They're more likely to stick through these contracts and try and work something out. The odds of selling went up again. And so as of last week, we had hit our highest levels ever. They went up again from that. We were sitting at 86.4% odds of selling. And so that's higher than what we had ever measured last year. It's the highest I've ever measured it before. So if you listed a home last week, you have the highest and the best odds of selling that we've ever measured. I don't know if that number is going to hold up there at that 86% or not. Usually it ends up staying there for about a 4-week period between March and April. So it'll probably stay up there for a little bit of time, and then it'll start to deteriorate as buyer fatigue really starts to set in and kids get out of school about mid-May. So again, you really want to list early this year.